So I just saw this article that suggests hypergamy is a myth. So we were all wrong. And actually, guys, it's not a thing. Hey, it's Christine Grace. Welcome back to another episode of The Latest Lunacy. Give the video a like on your way in. Let's get straight into it. So in today's video, we're looking at an article that actually came out today from EV Magazine. And I like EV Magazine for the most part. Obviously, I don't agree with every single thing that they post. But given the general kind of, absolute schlop that most young women are consuming, I think there is worse things to consume than EV Magazine. Now, I saw this article and I thought I have to make a video about it because it's something that I talk about a lot. And today's article is called Hypergamy is a Myth, the mainstream and more acceptable narrative among many online men's groups concerning their endless troubles with women mostly revolve around what they insist is hypergamy. So let's take a look. If a woman is unfaithful, blame hypergamy. And if a man isn't a Chad, blame hypergamy. If women are too picky and too difficult to please, blame hypergamy. So this is all just like assumptions. What is hypergamy? Hypergamy is described as a mating strategy in which someone seeks to marry up in social and financial class, ensuring security and prosperity primarily for women. According to the Institute of Family Studies, hypergamy was once a widely known fact. It was once a truth universally acknowledged that a single woman would be in want of a prosperous husband. This is not to say that women wanted to marry for money, but it is to concede that when women are unable to earn their own livelihood, as they have been unable to do through much of human history, husbands determine a family's economic and social status. Hypergamy, the tendency of women to try to marry up, was in part a natural response to this dependency. Marriage was the only way a woman determined her status in life. Okay. While there is some sort of merit in the argument about women's more hypergamous nature in seeking a more desirable mate, modern men have reduced hypergamy to an unbreakable clause that women will only love a Chad who is tall, blonde, and handsome and wealthy. All other men be damned. I don't think that's what modern men have reduced hypergamy to at all. All you have to do is watch literally any street interview asking any women off the street. The majority of women are hypergamous. That is a fact. Okay, now just because the ladies at EV Magazine feel like they, are one of the good ones, doesn't mean that most women aren't behaving this way. What is the truth behind hypergamy? What are the nuances involved? Why isn't hypergamy so black and white when women select a long-term mate? And what other more important masculine qualities do women seek in a man in embracing their hypergamous nature? Now, I am a member of the EV community, so I can read the full article, but I'm not going to share it on here for obvious reasons. They are a business. They've got their stuff behind, a subscription wall for a reason. So we're not going to violate that because that's not fair. But obviously they're going to make a catchy headline, right? To get people's attention, hypergamy is a myth. And what they're essentially doing is that they're playing down the genuine struggles of men in today's day and age. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that women have our struggles too. But it's just a bit strange to me. In recent weeks and months, I've been seeing a lot of these more conservative-leaning women talking in a similar rhetoric to how feminists talk. The idea of like women can have it all. And it seems as though what they're trying to say is, women can have it all. Women can be a housewife and, a stay-at-home mom as well as running a successful social media business, this, that, and the other, which is like, sure. In some rare cases, maybe that's true, but I think it's unrealistic. I think something's always got to give. So either you are really successful online, but you are missing out on time with your children, or, you're with your children all the time and you don't have a successful online presence. That is just a fact. That's the way the world works. No one can have it all. But the reason I thought this was interesting, why this particular article came out today, is because I was actually just about to react to this clip from the Modern Wisdom podcast. Chris Williamson had Dr. Deborah So on the show to discuss why nobody is having sex anymore and why it matters. So she actually is directly talking about, first thing she talks about on the podcast is why is hypergamy shifting? So let's see what she has to say.
Right, in Sextinction about 3 6s rule. So the idea that women look for men who are 6 feet or taller, who make 6 figures or more, and who have a 6-inch penis. Can I say penis on your podcast?
You can say penis if you like.
Every other media outlet, I've been like, is it okay if I say this? You can bleep it out. So, or manhood. So basically, if a man does not meet those criteria, he's not considered worthy of your time in, say, the internet dating culture for women. And I do, none of those things really correlate with success in a relationship or marriage. So when you do the calculations, as I have, it comes down to this tiny, tiny percentage. And then you have to also take into account, is he nice to you? Do you have chemistry? Do you have things in common? Can you have a conversation? Does your conversation last more than 5 seconds? So the more important factors whittle it down even smaller of a percentage. So I think women who are abiding by these criteria may be missing the bigger picture.
How many women do you think are abiding by the 3 6s rule?
So it's interesting because when you look at the internet and what's on social media, this is something that women are really pushing forward. I question, but at the same time, having talked to a lot of men about what dating is like nowadays, they, from what I've been told, women have really unrealistic standards in terms of what they're looking for.
And this is what I'm talking about. So, we can see that there was a time, 2022 to, maybe midway through 2023, maybe 2024, the red pill talking points such as hypergamy were really popular and people were seemingly starting to understand it. But it's only taken a couple of years and people are reverting back. This article from Evie magazine, a lot of sort of traditional conservative, more political leaning commentators are also insisting this. We saw, the debate between Pearl and, is it Anna Caspin, I think her name is. Sorry if I butchered that. But she makes the point of, her boyfriend was broke or whatever, and she's much richer. And we're seeing more of this almost cope from the more traditional conservative leaning women who are basically saying hypergamy isn't true because I don't do it. And that's what annoys me about the online space is that people often struggle to distinguish between how they view the world from their lens and what they would and wouldn't do and how the majority of people are behaving. So, this is why when I make broad statements, you will often catch me saying, in my opinion, or this is how I think about things. Because everything on this channel is just, it's called my name for a reason. It's me. This is me reacting to things, telling you what I think from my life experience. I'm not a professional. I am not highly educated in this, that, and the other. I'm just watching. I'm just watching the world and telling you what I see and how much of it I'm seeing. Now, when it comes to hypergamy, from where I'm sitting, I'm seeing a lot. Now, obviously, someone who wanted to critique my position could absolutely say, well, of course you're going to see more hypergamy because you react to more men's related content. Absolutely. But why is it? Why is it it's so easy to find? If there wasn't some kind of truth in, the concentration of hypergamy and just how prevalent it is, surely it would be a bit harder to find. It's like if I want to find blatant misandry online, it's so easy to find. So easy to find. I mean, blatant misandry, not just, men do this annoying thing or, men are doing this and we don't like it. I mean, blatant misandry, like violence towards men, calling for violence towards men. I mean, genuine, insulting men as a group. It is much easier to find misandry online than it is to find genuine misogyny. Now, to extend the definition of misogyny to include talking points like hypergamy is just ridiculous. The fact of hypergamy is not misogynistic. It is literally just a fact. So what my point is that it's annoying that most of these women who will say things like hypergamy isn't real are saying it because they believe that they are not like that. But it's like, the exception doesn't make the rule. Just because you aren't like that, or at least you don't think you're like that, doesn't mean that most women are the same as you. Because again, you know, if that were the case, if most women were like that, then it would be far easier to build up mountains of evidence that that's not the case. So that's what irritates me about the whole thing.
But I would also say, you know, social media has made men want to date like super hot, you know, women who may or may not look like their photos, maybe super photo edited and really perfect looking, but may or may not look like that in real life, or might have a ton of procedures, as I have a chapter on plastic surgery. So I think both sexes have very unrealistic expectations of what they want. But like anything, like evolutionary psychology and biology is not prescriptive. It's not saying this is what you should do. It's just basically generalizing or noticing trends in behavior, or that explains mating psychology. And like anything, the internet takes it and just like runs away with it.
I don't know. My favorite place for doing mating research is the pool at Soho House here in Austin. And it honestly, it's fucking ground zero for looking at mating dynamics. And a lot of the time I'd be there with friends, and there'd be a group of girls on the bed next to us, and they'd, you know, be 24 or something, and they're paying for a Soho House membership, and it's a couple of grand a year, so they're probably educated and earning well or whatever. They have never said, oh, it's because of the size of some guy's penis. Now, you could say they wouldn't want to publicly state that. That's kind of a bit uncouth. That's going to make them seem a little bit silly. The data that I saw from Mac and Murphy the last time he was sat in that seat suggests that if you're a guy with a 6-inch erect penis, you're in like the 97th percentile. So it's bigger than basically any woman has ever seen. Mm-hmm. So I get the sense that that's not an issue. The 6-pack abs, if you switch it out for that,
right,
which is a guy that's sort of muscular and in good condition, I could see that a little bit more. I think if women actually saw like full 6-inch penises more, they would actually be like, 98th percentile.
Well, yeah, because the average penis is 5 inches.
Yes.
But what's interesting is most women say they want a 6-inch penis. Most men think women want a 7-inch penis.
And most men think that they have a 6-inch penis, probably.
Most men are actually harder than themselves. I didn't mean to.
Oh, they have they think they have a 4-inch penis.
Yeah.
They have a 5-inch penis.
Yeah.
Women want a 6-inch penis, and men think that women want a 7-inch penis.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
and so that's the thing also with hypergamy. I feel men are really, I don't want to say hard on themselves, but difficult. They challenge themselves more than they need to.
Keep using the word hard. It's fine.
Because they think like women want, again, like I read about looks maxing. Men think that women want this super hot Chad guy. Mm-hmm.
I reacted to a video recently from Dr. Orion Teraban over at Psych Hacks, and he really like decoded this. He spoke about how you know, the idea of Beauty and the Beast, actually, you know, there's something about not looking, you know, like this like beautiful looking man. Like there's something almost kind of icky about it if you're a woman who's not on birth control. You know, the idea of a man who is like completely clean shaven, like my face, you know, it's like more feminine, you know, perfect bone structure. It's like, if you're prettier than me, how am I supposed to feel pretty? You know, like, so there's something about, you know, the rugged kind of like, not dirty, but like rough around the edges kind of look for a man, not looking like a supermodel, is actually very, very attractive to women. So it's, you know, the whole looks maxing thing, I've only recently like learned about it, started looking into it. It's very strange to me. And I think it's a product of women being on birth control and obviously social media trends. I have watched the main guy, Clavicular, and what he has to say from his perspective. His thing is like, I'm doing this because by me looking like this, I've gotten greater opportunities. And I think sometimes people are missing the point of what he's saying. I actually agree with what he's saying. That doesn't mean I think you should go do it. I don't think he is, I don't want to say happy, because like maybe he is. We only see his online persona. But like I'm pretty sure I saw a clip of him having a fit the other day. I know that he's infertile. He spoke about that because of all the steroids and stuff that he's on. And it's quite I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. But for me, there's something quite sad about it. I don't know. There's just something about him, the way he talks. Like, he'll be doing his bit for the camera, and then very quickly there's like a look of despair on his face. And I imagine that's got something to do with the psychology of knowing, like, no one gave a shit about me before. And I've had to literally hammer my face with a freaking, hammer for people to pay attention to me. And like, the realization of just how shallow the world is and stuff. Like, I remember when I first started going down the red pill rabbit hole, like, it does make things pretty bleak for a while. But yeah, I think the whole looks maxing thing is a real shame, because I get the point of it. I get Clavicula's point. Like, if he didn't look how he looks, he wouldn't be Clavicula. He wouldn't have his, brand and everything. People wouldn't be as inclined to talk to him. But I have seen photos of him before. Like, he wasn't an ugly guy. He was just a normal guy. And I actually think to women who aren't on birth control, there's something more attractive about looking like a normal guy. But, definitely things like being in good shape, broad shoulders are attractive. I even think to women who aren't on birth control, like facial hair, like a little bit or a lot, obviously depending on the girl, it's attractive. This idea that men need to look feminine and pretty to be perceived as attractive by other women is really strange. But that doesn't mean it's not actually happening, because it is absolutely happening. All you've got to do is look at this guy's streams, and the women are flooding to him. Now, obviously, this is where things get complicated and confusing, because it's like, okay, well, are they flooding to him because of his status and his obvious like money because of that status, or are they flooding to him because of the way he looks? Obviously, it's a bit of both, but I'm intrigued to know which one is it more. Because either way, it's hypergamy. This is the thing. Either way, it's hypergamy. By him being good looking, that's a hypergamous relationship, because she knows, the women flooding to him know, if I'm the girl who's got the good looking guy, that automatically elevates my status amongst other women. And if it's obviously for the money, then like the hypergamy there is obvious.
A perfect bone structure, that he has to have all these metrics, right? Especially guys are getting penile injections in terms of filler, or they're getting like enlargement, and women, I mean, yes, some women do like those things, but by and large, most women care more about resources and protection, and are you a good person? So I think hypergamy is...
See, again, like, I think that's true to a degree. As in, I think it was probably much more true before, but again, like, these social, like, media trends and stuff, and just look at it, like, just look at the streams. Genuinely, guys, it is like a phenomenon to me. If you are watching these streams of these like young, I was about to say young kids, I feel so old. I'm so old. But these young kids, Clavicula, he's like, what, 18, 19? And then like the girls at the club, like, they're obviously like 18, 19. They're flooding to him. Now, again, obviously he has resources, right? But it would be, do you know what would be a really cool concept? If we was to get like a Clavicula doppelganger, or like someone just as attractive as him, who is like unknown, like a completely unknown individual. No one knows he's got status or money or anything like that. And I personally am of the theory that the modern day and age, and the combination of, social media and women being on birth control, I actually think he would probably do just as well as Clavicula, without people knowing that he is, he's someone who has or hasn't got money. Again, like, you just have to look at women who will get with, they say, I want someone who's got 6 figures, 6-pack, all of this stuff, 6 foot. But as soon as they find someone attractive, all of that goes out the window. They only have those standards for the guys who they're not that attracted to, and they want you to have that instead. If a woman's into you, if she's physically attracted to you, nothing else matters. Everyone knows someone who's dated a bum. Everyone knows someone who has been with someone else who's unemployed. So it's like, hypergamy is true, but I feel like people forget that like physical hypergamy is a thing too. Women, they don't just want to date up in terms of financial stability and security. They also want to date up in terms of status. And if you're a woman with a good-looking guy, that does elevate your status amongst other women. And women care about that stuff.
Also gone off the rails a bit in that way, in that men think that women just keep wanting more and more and more and better and better and better. And to some extent that's true, but I think also like we have to give love some credit as well. And if you're happy with someone, I don't think the other person is going to have a reason to go elsewhere.
Yeah, I get this, and the internet, it makes a lot of sense on the internet because it's very easy to put into a spreadsheet. I can put my height, I can put my penis length, which I do all the time. I can put all their objective metrics, and it's kind of like that is having a boyfriend cringe now article. Yeah. Very quickly, if you go outside, you realize that is having a boyfriend cringe is only true on the internet in the same way as the Kardashians made skinny not a fad as cringe. Like it really doesn't exist if you go out into the real world. If you go and sit around Soho House pool, for the most part, the issues that at least I hear from women and that I hear at my live shows is guys aren't ready to commit and they're not sufficiently emotionally educated and they don't seem very balanced and they don't really have their life together. They don't have a mission and they don't know where they're going. Now, I think that a lot of that is maybe publicly acceptable ways of putting a more difficult to define sense that there just wasn't chemistry. Something wasn't quite right. Why? It's like, well, if you're a post-grad girl trying to date a blue-collar guy, there might be a little sense of socioeconomic imbalance going on here. And have you heard me talk about the tall girl problem? I've given you this one.
I have the high heel problem.
Yeah, fucking Scott Galloway. Scott Galloway keeps calling it the high heel effect because he's ancient and he's demented. It's the tall girl problem. And then he stole it from me and started talking about it on CNN and misnamed it. And now anyway.
Tell me, Chris, what is the tall girl problem?
Look, it's exactly what you're talking about, which is if you have women that are socioeconomically more successful, you have an ever increasing group of high performing women and an ever decreasing group of ultra high performing men that are above and across from them. That gives most men this sort of invisibility cloak that means that they're not seen by women as potential protector providers. It creates a large cohort of women that did everything right. I went to university, I got the job, I pursued my career, I've got financial independence, and I'm struggling to find any guys that I'm attracted to, and I can't really work out why. And he seems really good, but that guy that's in the rarefied strata at the top has a wealth of options, so they're able to use and discard women. And then that really sort of gnarly outcome is that if you have casual sex with somebody, that skews your own self perspective of your mate value. Your self-referential mate value perspective gets a little bit tuned up, and you think, well, I got it for one night. I should be able to get it. It's like there is a difference between what you can get on rent and what you can buy, and that altogether it doesn't make for a very easy environment because these women don't want to be used and discarded. But they also don't necessarily feel that much resonance with the guys that are in the cohort of men that are socioeconomically below them. Men that are in relationships where they're not the primary breadwinner, 50% more likely to use erectile dysfunction medication. Man loses his job.
Wow.
The likelihood of marriage, of divorce doubles. Woman loses her job, no difference in terms of the likelihood of divorce. So all of these things are kind of raw physics of the system. And we can say, well, maybe you can offset hypergamy. Maybe people are not going to, the women are going to learn to value other things in this way. And I get the sense that this is more the literal physics of the system, like largely unbreakable. And I mean, that for coupling, for young people, especially given women out-earn men by $1,500 per year up to age 30.
1 in 7 couples now is the woman is the primary breadwinner.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The bottom 40% of male earners and the top 20% of female earners are dating female primary breadwinner. So the top quintile for women and the bottom 2 quintiles for men are dating in the opposite hypergamous direction. Just that, like, don't even need to talk about the endocrine disruptors and the desire for sex and porn and all the rest of it. Just the coupling. Right, just simply the coupling there. Because I'd be interested to know how much hypergamy plays a role when it comes to a one-night stand.
Well, okay. So that's a huge thesis of my book. This idea that because women are becoming more educated, more financially successful than men, they have fewer suitable bachelors to choose from. So what you find is that very successful
Tall
men...
girl problem.
Well, I need to coin my own term for this.
It's fine.
So, and I'll go on CNN and
then misquote it. Call it something else. Call it something else. And then you and Scott can have a fucking battle to the end of time to work out who can misquote me. It's fine.
So what happens, as you're saying, is that there's this smaller pool of very successful men who have their pick of the lot, who they're disincentivized in terms of settling down. Mm-hmm. So if they want, I mean, they can have multiple marriages in a row. You will see this happening. So you can't have, polygyny, but what you'll have is multiple marriages in a row. So they'll marry someone, have children, divorce her, have another marriage, have children, divorce her, go on. Mm-hmm. So, and then what happens is with men's dual mating strategy is that, you have long-term choices and short-term options. And so the women who fall into the short-term bucket may erroneously think that they're one of the long-term options, but men very much, when they meet someone or meet a woman, they choose which bucket she's going to go into, and there's not much chance of a crossover.
Madonna whore complex.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of hypergamy and how to fix it, I think getting rid of DEI would be one start. So diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives, because
I like this lady. I like her a lot.
That actively penalizes men, punishes men for no good reason. And if you are...
Is that true? It actively penalizes men as opposed...
Come on, Chris. Isn't that obvious?
Opposed to just lifting up other groups?
Yeah, well, I mean, coming from academia, I can tell you that they actually have job postings, I've seen them myself, where they explicitly will say, this job is for, a minority or a woman, basically ruling out white men. And
I'm an immigrant, so
so it doesn't affect you.
No,
but it's crazy. I mean, I've had so many colleagues tell me this. I'm not in academia anymore, but they will tell me the things that they experience behind basically closed doors, where if they want to apply for something, they'll be discouraged because they'll say this position is for a woman or for a minority, so don't bother applying. So this is just one, faction of society. My understanding is this happens everywhere. This was very much in like corporations as well, but I think it's been hopefully dialed back a little bit, right?
And your goal here.
That's crazy. And it's like people will say that like this stuff is conspiracy theories and, the idea that white men are demonized is completely false. I know it's false. I've experienced it firsthand. I will never forget when I was in college studying media, I had this Canadian teacher or American, I can't remember. And she literally like outwardly said to a classroom, middle-aged white men are the problem. And I could not believe it. This woman had just done a whole spiel about racism and why it's bad and why stereotyping is bad and why grouping people into like one thing and then being prejudiced against that group is bad. And then she did that. And I remember I got kicked out of that class for arguing with that teacher. I'm still proud of that to this day. I couldn't, because my first thought when she said it was, my dad's a middle-aged white man. How dare you? How dare you? And, she was, purporting this idea that the middle-aged white man run the world and they are super rich and super mean and super evil. And I remember thinking, like, my dad has been a hardworking man since he was 17 years old. He's worked every single day of his life. I don't think the man's ever taken a day off. We're not super rich. He certainly doesn't run the world. But you know what? He's a flipping amazing dad. So how dare you? You can see I'm getting riled up now. She really rubbed me the wrong way. So this idea that hypergamy isn't true and there's no agenda against white men is bullshit. It's bullshit. There absolutely is. Hypergamy is real. Just because a woman might not be dating up in terms of, socioeconomic class anymore, she's still trying to get the men who she deems more attractive. Right? And the truth is that most women, when they are on social media, maybe not in real life, in terms of like hookups and stuff, but when they're on social media and these dating apps, they are looking for the guys who earn more than them, who are taller than them, who are this, that, and the other. Like hypergamy is not a myth. It is a fact. Just because you aren't hypergamous as a woman doesn't mean that most women aren't, because they are. And there absolutely is an agenda against white men, and anyone who says otherwise, they're just ignoring facts. They're just ignoring facts. There is. It's unfortunate, but there absolutely is. We can't deny reality. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comment section below? As always, if you enjoyed today's video, please do give it a thumbs up on your way out. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to keep up to date with all of my content. And if you'd like to consider supporting the channel, you can do that with the links in the description at buymeacoffee.com and via PayPal. And on that note, guys, I will see you very soon in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.